What's going on, people? My name is Terrell Harris from the Open Box, where our vision is to make wholeness more accessible. And what I wanted to talk about in this particular video blog is why Joel Olsteen is so successful. So, let me give you some context. So, as a seminary or former seminary student, we tend to talk about preaching. We tend to heavily critique people who preach. In our preaching classes and things like that. So oftentimes, preachers like Joel Olsteen and Joyce Myers and maybe even Creflo Dollar would come up. And people in seminary, cringe at the idea of prosperity preachers and things like that. So I wanted to, I didn't necessarily listen to Joel Olsteen, but what I wanted to do is actually listen to see what is the draw to Joel Olsteen, why he's been so successful. So, I have Sirius XM, in my car. So on my way to work for the last 3 months, I would kind of tune in just to see, to Joel Olsteen has a channel. So what I would do is tune into him to see what his sermons were about, to see how he structured his sermons, and to see why people were so drawn to them. So I'll give you an overview of his sermon format. So first he starts out with a saying, this is my Bible, yada, 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 something like that. I am what it says I am. I can do what it says I can do. I'll be what I can be. Something like that. All right. And then he starts out with a joke. So I'm going through his structure. So it'll be the saying, or maybe that's reverse. It'll be a joke, the saying, and then he'll get into the message. Typically, Joel doesn't wrestle with one particular verse, so he's not going to follow the lectionary. What he'll do is he'll take a subject and then he'll use different parts of the Bible to prove the point, whether it's something like have faith, have faith / believe in God, or trust your journey. A lot of his sermons tend to deal with faith, at least the ones that they've been playing on the radio. And then what he does, and I think this is a key to his success, is he gathers so many testimonies from regular people. So people will see that not just with the scripture verses, there's personal stories of success that actually relate to the message he's trying to give. So he's an awesome, I can't even lie. So regardless of what we say about Joel Olsteen, he can tell a story. So he's an awesome storyteller, and he's able to regurgitate and vividly tell stories from, individuals he's experienced. So for the most part, you'll have a joke, the vision or the reference of the Bible being it is what it is. Then you'll have you'll have scriptures sprinkled throughout the sermon, and then you'll have a bunch of stories and a bunch of testimony to prove the main point. And it's one point he never, like, the crazy thing about a Joel Olsteen message is that I've done this on purpose. I've literally listened to the beginning, tuned out for like 15-20 minutes, tuned back in. It almost seems that at whatever particular point you listen to the message, even if it's the last 5 minutes, you're still going to understand what that particular message was about. And typically they don't last any more than 30 minutes. So the critique, and I think the reason seminary students tend to critique Joel Olsteen is because I'm not to say that he doesn't do this, but I hadn't seen any wrestling over social justice issues. He doesn't tend to rock the boat. And it's interesting because if we look back at, some of the things that Jesus did, it was political, it was controversial, and Joel doesn't touch any of that. So some of us may critique Joel Olsteen because he doesn't wrestle with the text. He doesn't speak on social issues. He kind of stays, far away from that in his messages, or at least the ones I've listened to over the past 3 months. But I guess obviously there's a lane for him because he's super successful. Many people follow him. I would particularly say that at a certain point, I think he's only going to get you to a certain level in your faith. And for those who may be seeking something a little bit deeper, or for those who actually study a lot and really actually dive into, the Bible along with the historical details, along with the church history, Joel Osteen's probably not going to work for you, unfortunately. But the one thing I'm learning from Joel Olsteen is how to tell stories and how to, you know, intertwine comedy with some of the stuff. But, you know, every now and then the people still have to be challenged. And then you have to speak out about issues that's going on. So Jesus spoke out for the poor all the time. And, you know, for Jesus to actually say that, you know, things were going to be turned upside down, and, you know, that the poor people were going to lead, and you know, was going to be opposite as poor relates to rich. It's something quite controversial at that time. So I can see why, you know, some people stay away from Joel, because he doesn't touch controversy at all. So that's just my overall critique of what I've been hearing. Actually, what I want you to do is post your comments below. What do you think of Joel Olsteen's preaching? Do you think he's effective? Do you think he needs a little work? Do you think he supports the people the way they need to support it, or do you think that he's a prosperity preacher and nobody should really listen to them? Post your comments below. Again, my name is Terrell Harris. You can follow me on Twitter at Mr. Terrell Harris. You can follow me on Instagram at Mr. Terrell Harris. You can follow us everywhere at The Open Box. Follow my wife, Landa Brooke, on Twitter. And visit our website, theopenbox.com, and subscribe. Peace and blessings.